The problem showed up on this 1997 Pontiac Grand Am as a great deal of noise and vibration, increasing with speed, coming from the right front wheel area. I have it up on stands right now and have an assistant running it. And you can notice the sound, or the noise, but also notice that the right front wheel is stopping from time to time while the left continues to roll. This indicates to me we have an issue with the CV axle on the right side, and that's what I'm going to be looking at during this repair. Okay, between me and this axle nut, it is now total war. So I brought to the battle a larger weapon. I have a 24-inch breaker bar. Finally broke. It's coming off. Sometimes you just gotta have the bigger tool. This is one of those times. Putting finishing touches on it, getting the axle nut off. We'll move on to the next step. Next we're going to hang the caliper, take it off there, get it out of the way. After that we'll take the rotor off. Okay, the caliper is kind of an innocent bystander in this job, so we're just going to get it out of here, hang it up. Hang it up out of the way, so we can get at what we really want. The bearing, and hub assembly. Okay, to get the caliper off the rotor, usually you have to have a really large screwdriver in here. Pry it up and back and forth a little bit. Using the rotor to kind of pull from. And there it goes. Now, as I said, what you want to do is hang this rotor up above here. I just have a coat hanger here. Hang on to the rotor pins. It's always a good idea to, caliper pins I should say, clean these up and re-loop them before you put them back in. Next step then is off with the rotor. Okay. Here we are now, down to the hub. Okay, what we have here is a T55 on this hub assembly. Three of them, which you can get through the convenient access hole. Okay, so you got to line up this extra large hole. There's 3 holes in here. One of them's a little larger than the others, and so that's the one that's going to have to be used. In there. There it is. Do the rest of it with a ratchet. Okay, so I think this technique is showing some promise. I'm putting chisels in and driving them in near each one of the mounting holes and getting some separation slowly and equally. So it's slowly moving out that way, and I'm just going to keep working it. Okay, so here it comes. I finally got it to turn with the pipe wrench, but the chisels were the way to get it out of there. So there we have it. It's the hub assembly. Okay, I used basically these 4 chisels to get that hub assembly off, and working in toward each one of the mounting bolts where the mounting holes are on the hub assembly, between that and the steering knuckle, to fitting these in at an angle, starting with a 1/2 inch. Then I worked my way up to 5/8. And as it got ever wider, I was finally able to put a pipe wrench on there. And the pipe wrench, I think, finally really broke it loose. Once I was able to move it with this, rotate it a little bit, kind of broke the rust seal. And I finished off with these 2 size chisels here, which I'm not sure what they are. These are some old ones I've had for a long, long time. And finally this one is the one that made the final break and completely broke it loose. Okay, next up is to disconnect the wheel sensor. Get it out of the way. Okay, we're going to take the bolts that bolt the steering knuckle to the strut right now. 21mm breaker bar. Let's see what happens. Come on. Okay, we go right to a ratchet. That wasn't bad at all. We're going to get these flush with the end of the bolt and then tap on them a little bit. You can tap it loose. Now they're pretty much flush. Okay, what we've done here now is set this up so that we can possibly pound this, pound the ball joint out. I've got the a crowbar in here kind of holding the CV assembly away, so now I can actually get some angle here and actually pound out. Might not be a good idea on that castellated nut, actually. Looks like that thing could have been harmed by my pounding on it. Should have put a regular nut on there. So I'm going to pull that off and put a regular. So what I've done is I put a different nut on there so I don't damage that castellated nut. Okay, lo and behold, I think I might have broke it loose. Okay, I get the knuckle off without actually taking the control arm ball joint out. So that'll be pretty much home free. There's a CV joint now. Just going to pull that out next. Okay, from underneath I was able to find this one spot where I could get a very small crowbar in, and using leverage between the axle and the transaxle, able to actually get this out of here. So I was able to get a small pry bar in underneath and the right angle, get this CV joint out. So there it is. So not too bad of a job. Okay, I've taken off the clamps. Part. See this movement in here? Up and down. Slop. I think it's going at a few RPMs. That's going to cause some noise and more. Okay, we're moving into the install here. Let's put a little grease inside the transaxle where it's going to seat. Okay, we have a remanufactured transaxle here. Okay, it seems to be seated. Put a hammer. There's a little groove here. And we can tap this into place. moving in. Okay, it doesn't seem to be moving anymore. Check underneath and make sure it's seated. Okay, we're ready to put the steering knuckle back on now. Remember, we pulled it off of the stud from the ball joint here, so that's going to have to go back on first. It goes on in this orientation. Also, it took a little time to clean the surfaces, the mating surfaces up while it's out. It's the best time to do it. Okay. It's good. So this is the bearing and hub assembly that I wound up picking up. Got a Moog, Federal Mogul. Turns out to be Korean made. I believe this is where the O-ring goes. Again, that was missing from the last original part that was in there. So that's where I'm going to put it. It looks on here like there's a little face for it to fit in, so it should be okay. Okay, so it's time to put the hub and bearing assembly back in. Just fit it on the splines. Rotate it to fit. Okay, 70 foot-pounds is the correct torque on this. I'm going to do it in a couple stages here. Okay, it's 50. I always believe in staging them, no matter what it is. Okay, get this one to 50. Move that one to 50. That one's to 50, and then we'll take them to 70, and that'll be the end of the hub. Okay, putting the calipers back on, 3/8 inch Allen. Make sure when you put the rotor on, I found I had some trouble with this, it should go on in the same orientation it came off, otherwise you can have a hard time fitting the brake pads over these ridges. I actually had to file them down a little bit. I thought I was going to, for a while, have to go and get a clamp and actually retract the piston, but it didn't go that far. These go to 38 foot-pounds. Okay, we're putting on a brand new axle nut, along with the old washer. 30 millimeter. Okay, this nut's under some major torque, so hence the torque wrench. Specs call for 192 foot-pounds. Mine only goes up to 150. I don't have a fancy one. So I'm taking it that far, that way. Add a breaker bar here, and just a little more. It's done by feel sometimes. That's all you can do. Okay, the new CV axle's in place, much quieter, and both wheels are turning. Thanks for watching.